Hi, welcome back to the final edition of the Apollo moon landing hoax conspiracy case. I'm Jeff Dixon, I'm your host. We've been looking over the past 3 episodes at the idea, the concept that the Apollo moon landing never took place. And we've looked at that evidence, we've left it to you to go and figure out for yourself, but we've shared it with you. We've shared with you what skeptics believe and what the official answers are. Where the truth lies may be somewhere in between. That's, again, for you to discover. But what we want to do now is give you a takeaway or two, or maybe 3, some spiritual thoughts that tie into what we've been talking about over the previous episodes. The first thing that we would ask you to remember is simply this: seek the truth, but with wisdom. Conspiracies remind us that we need to seek truth. Truth matters. But we also need to seek it wisely. The Bible encourages us to test everything and hold on to what's good. 1 Thessalonians 5:21 says that. But that doesn't mean we should get lost chasing every shadow of every doubt. Discernment, like the moon's light, can only shine when we look to the source of where the light's coming from. And so in life, don't get too far off track. Don't be afraid to ask questions. But use the discernment that comes because you are drawing from that wealth of knowledge of knowing Jesus Christ. The second thing is that faith happens, and sometimes faith happens in things that we cannot see. See, very much like believing in the moon landing, faith is about trusting things that we haven't seen firsthand. I personally have never been to the moon. I'm guessing you haven't either, unless you're an astronaut who's been to the moon, who's watching this. And if you are, go ahead and email us and let us know that, because we think that's pretty cool. But for the most part, you probably have never been to the moon. In your lifetime, you probably will never get the opportunity to go to the moon. Yet, you believe that the moon exists, don't you? And you believe that there's a moon out there, right? And you believe in that because while you've seen it and you've seen evidence of it, you've never actually experienced it firsthand because you've never stood on the surface. You don't know what it's like. See, in Hebrews 11:1, it teaches us that faith is the confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. And so in this particular case, we trust the accounts of the astronauts. We trust the accounts of those who helped put them into space. And we decide whether or not we trust the science, as it were, and believe it to be true. And if you don't believe that it's true, then you become a skeptic and you doubt. People do that with faith all the time. And there's a lot of people who don't believe in Jesus simply because they just have questions that they feel like they can't have answered because they haven't experienced it themselves yet. When you get to the edge of what you know and what you believe, faith is what takes you to the next step. We also learn an important lesson about having unity in the midst of division. If you think about it and go back in history, 1969 was a very important year. It was the last year in what was a very violent, turbulent, volatile time of the 1960s. And yet, the moon landing united people around the world. Isn't it interesting that the event itself united people around the world, yet conspiracy theorists live to divide? In other words, by buying into the conspiracy, you're trying to undercut something that is globally accepted. Now, is that important to do? Yes, if you're battling for truth. But you need to make sure that as you go and battle for truth, that you really do have truth on your side. Because see, whether or not you believe we went to the moon, that's not the big question. The bigger question is, how do we learn to disagree with those who have differing opinions? Because in learning to disagree and work through it and talk through it, then and only then can we find solutions and maybe a way to move forward beyond that. And so we're reminded of that as we continue to hear the endless stream of thought about conspiracy theories. See, in the end, whether you believe the moon landing was a giant leap of faith for mankind or a giant leap of the imagination for the worldwide viewing public, one thing is for certain. The quest for truth is universal. And just as the stars will guide us at night, so we should be able to be guided by wisdom, faith, and unity as we explore and delve into the mysteries of life. And so, that brings to a close this conspiracy case. Is there more to be discovered? Of course there is. Is there more evidence out there? No doubt about it. But until next time, you stay curious, but stay grounded, and make sure you build your life on truth. I look forward to joining you as we open the next conspiracy case.